All right, so a lot of times here in South Louisiana, we fish with a jig head with a soft plastic, right? We all do it. But there are some times you want to specialize your rig for different applications to catch more fish or to have more success doing a different technique. The three main rigs, other than just a jig head tied to your line, are a double rig, a Carolina rig, and a drop shot. They each have different applications and they shine in different situations. Knowing when to use each one will help you put more fish in the boat. All right, so here in South Louisiana, our fishing is so good, we figure, why catch one fish when you can catch two? A lot of anglers here like to fish double rigs, and I'll tell you, there are definitely situations where fish will bite a double rig, even a single fish, more quickly than it will just a single rig. It will see that first bait and kind of get interested, and then it sees that second one coming along and it can't stand it, it has to go hit it. So double rigs, I absolutely never tie with braided line. But I want you to be able to see on the video the line, so I'm using braided line for this video. So all you do is you cut a length of about, I don't know, maybe 3 feet or so of line. You take one jig head, tie it to the tag end. For double rigs, I always use a Palomar knot because it's so strong and so easy to tie. So I'm using my Palomar knot here. So I tied it to one end. I get my other jig head and tie it to the other tag end. So I cut off my tag ends. I've got my 2 jig heads tied to my length of line. You let one jig head fall about 1/3 of the way toward the other one, and then you tie a simple overhand knot up here, leaving a loop. So there's our loop, there's our first jig head, and there's our second jig head. We're going to tie our main line right into here using an improved clinch knot. Very, very easy to do. That is your double rig, and you will frequently catch 2 fish at a time using this rig. All right, so the next popular rig that you need to know how to fish is called a drop shot. Now these are gaining in popularity here in South Louisiana. 5-10 years ago, anglers didn't really use them, but they're very, very productive and they've got definite specific application. You want to fish a drop shot when you're fishing deep water, but the fish are not right on the bottom. The great thing with a drop shot is you can adjust the length of the weight leader to get that bait up off the bottom. Sometimes trout, redfish, sheephead, even flounder will look for baits that are 2, 3, 4 feet off the bottom, and the drop shot keeps that live bait from burying down. Think about it, you throw out a live shrimp, that shrimp's gonna do anything it can to get away from the predators. Frequently what they do is they bury down into the mud or the grass or whatever happens to be in that area. Drop shot allows you to pull that bait back out and be seen by the predators. It's very similar to tying a double rig. Same deal, we're gonna pull out about a 3 or 4 foot section of line. Now the length that you pull out is going to determine how much you can get that bait off the bottom. So if you feel like the fish are way off the bottom, you're going to want to fish with a longer leader. So here I've got my egg sinker, and how heavy of an egg sinker you need, again, depends on current. I fish anywhere from a 1/2 ounce to maybe a full ounce. We don't have giant tidal ranges here in South Louisiana. So you pass your line through your egg sinker, and this is the easiest part. You just tie an improved clinch knot to keep that egg sinker in place. If you're into aesthetics, you're going to want to cut off your tag end. I don't really care. To the other end, you tie your hook. Now I do not want this to break So I'm going to tie a Palomar. Again, you'll cut off your tag end. So you're left with essentially just like a double rig. You got your weight on one side, your hook on the other. You want to go about a third of the way down or less. If you want your bait higher off the bottom, just go maybe a quarter way down. You want it closer to the bottom, go almost halfway. For this, I'm going to go about a third of the way down. I'm going to tie my loop knot just like I did with my double rig. And I'm going to tie my main line to this. And that is a drop shot. You get this weight on the bottom, and you can see that that bait is going to be off the bottom. It will not be able to bury. All right, so the final rig you need to know is a Carolina rig. Very, very popular here in South Louisiana, been fished for decades. There are a lot of guides who fish nothing but Carolina rigs and would never fish a drop shot. They like the weight rolling across the bottom with the current, so they fish Carolina rigs. It's almost exclusively a live bait rig here in South Louisiana, although some anglers are beginning to fish Carolina rigs with soft plastics and having some pretty good success with it. I hate that technique, but the guys who know how to do it, boy, they really maul some fish with it. So we're going to start with our main line, which, if you know me, I'm fishing braid as my main line. And we thread onto that an egg sinker of various weights. Most popular weights here in South Louisiana are 1/2 ounce, 3/4 ounce, or 1 ounce. Again, it just depends on the current. You want that bait rolling along the bottom. You don't want it so heavy that it's just sitting in one spot, and you don't want it so light that it doesn't get all the way to the bottom or doesn't hold the bottom. So it's kind of a little bit of trial and error there, but you rig your egg sinker onto your braided main line, and you're trying to drop it, and then you tie on a swivel. Now, some anglers like to put a bead between the weight and the swivel. Feel like it kind of adds a little tick, and it also will protect this knot. I've never had problems with knots failing, and I don't know if it really helps you all that much, so I don't do it. But if you want to do it, add a little advantage, give it a try. I'm just going to tie them. Prove clinch to my swivel. And as you can see, that swivel stops that egg sinker. So to this, we're going to tie a leader that's going to have our hook. All right, how long of a leader you fish depends on personal preference, but a good leader length is about 3 feet. So to one end of this, we're going to tie our hook. So I'm using a Palomar knot to tie this on, and then I tie the other end to the other end of my swivel. Using an improved clinch. You have to use an improved clinch because you can't pass the swivel back through because the other end's tied to your main line. You can't tie a Palomar with it. Okay, so I got my 2 tags that I have to cut off, but other than that, I've got my Carolina rig. My egg sinker stopped at the swivel, and I've got my leader leading to my hook. That's a Carolina rig. That's all there is to it. Very, very simple, very, very productive. All right, so master those 3 rigs, and whether you like to fish plastics or live bait, you will have success in Louisiana's waters. There you go. If you like the video, be sure and subscribe. Marsh Man Masson. Click it right now. It's right here. Also, be sure and hit the like button, give us a thumbs up, and leave your comments. What are your favorite rigs for catching fish in coastal marshes?